sneeze all over you.
Well, that started out with and sneeze all over you. Right, well, welcome back to and Wookie's going to sneeze all over you. We're full at this point, episode 4. We're doing these in one lump as usual, so by 7 or 8 episodes time we're going to sound like a couple of dribbling idiots who are drunk.
As is the norm.
As is the norm. So, we've been talking about food.
Yes, we have.
And lots of food. And then I realised that our alcohol discussion died. It was one of those we lost on the hard drive.
Yeah, you and your dodgy hard drives.
Raven comes here, he fondles them once and then they don't work ever again.
Damn it, Raven.
You are talking about the man who bought himself a 1 terabyte hard drive and managed to throw it out of a window twice.
Yes, he is the special kind.
Seriously? That's for Fight Night is such an epic movie. Now he's just ruined it. But is that in New Zealand?
I would assume so.
How the hell that ever got to New Zealand, I will never understand. We're looking at people's Facebooks and insulting the fuckers. Also,
as we do so well.
Also, who dresses like that? Well, fuck, that country's ruined. You let that in, no wonder you've got earthquakes. Anyway, we've been discussing booze. We did last time and then it all died.
I don't even remember anything we said.
We had a 4-hour rant in which we ended up discussing politics, racial division.
I remember all of that. I just don't remember the alcohol part.
that was how we started, was the discussion on booze.
Alcohol always starts that shit.
Well, we have alcohol now.
Yes, good, nice whiskey.
And Wookie's falling asleep here.
Whiskey.
And he's had half a whiskey and he's already passing out. It's also the heat isn't much better.
To the head.
I shall give him the ultimate head.
That's what I say to her at night. To the head.
To the head.
Open wide.
And no wonder she abandoned you and moved to another country. But I like alcohol. You may have noticed.
Yeah.
So what do you like, Wookie?
Definitely these days you've got me into the whiskey quite nicely.
Yeah.
Before that I was very partial to rum.
And heroin.
I liked Spice Gold, but my favourite was the Green Island Clear Rum.
Alright.
That mixed very nicely with Coke.
Yeah, you don't mix whiskey with Coke. That's how you get your head kicked in.
Yes.
I've never been a rum drinker myself.
And the brandy you gave me the last time I sure was quite nice though.
It was
Had
brandy?
quite a punch to it.
Brandy?
Yeah, you said there was like some brandy on the shelf that someone bought like 10 years ago that had just been sitting
That was
there.
just a generic brandy. That brandy was from Daniel. No, it was from Liz, from Josh, from Daniel. Daniel bought that back when he was in his early 20s. He'd been walking around the Pretoria University for the past few years. It's been moving from cupboard to cupboard to cupboard.
It was very pleasant, but it had like one little glass and you were like,
You're like that now. You have one glass of whiskey and you're off your head. I'm not surprised that for 10 years that stuff's fermented. My uncle once, years ago, bought a bottle of Delgado coconut liqueur thing on one drink and they never touched it again, and it sat on our bar here until one day I opened it and I poured a glass and this sort of lumpy white goop fell out of the cup and I sat there and Jesus.
No,
Can't even touch that because there's not alcohol at that point, it's fermented. It looked like coconuts that had been pureed and just put in a bottle. It was absolutely bloody vile.
Another thing that I have always really loved and actually haven't had in a while, and
Anal sex.
only if I'm in the back.
He's always the back.
But no, it's usually not made properly out here, but close enough at least, is caipirinha.
Okay.
So the local way that everyone does it is because we're not in Portugal, is to use generic cane.
Yes.
But the proper way is to actually use the Portuguese alcohol cachaça.
Yes.
Mix that with water, lemonade, shit tons of sugar, and it feels like you're drinking a really nice lemonade, and 3 hours later you're like, boom,
Dead on your feet.
because you don't even realize there's alcohol there. It feels like you're drinking cool drink, and then You drink it like cool drink in the middle of summer in the heat.
The old nutrition cocktails from back when nutrition started used to be like that. There was a huge amount of flavouring and lots of vodka, but the vodka you couldn't taste. So you would drink so there'd be lots of people would be there middle of summer. I remember I walked in there and there's a metalhead guy walked in about the same time I did. By the time I'd said my hellos and managed to get to the back bar, 2 other metalheads were carrying him out. The first guy, he had about 10 cocktails. He downed about 10 of them because it's just nice flavoured cool drink for the day. And by number 10, he just went KO because he was about 10 points over the legal limit at that point. I think a single one of the old cocktails was pretty much over the legal limit. You're supposed to have a little one and take it easy, but some people just down 10 and then
actually, we were discussing last night. One of my friends has a whole bunch of Serbian friends. And they brought some of their like special homebrew stuff with them the one time. Like made from fermented peaches and like 99% concentrate.
Oh yeah.
It's like, this thing tastes really nice. I can't stand up.
I've had Polish plum rum, and my uncle, he does homemade stuff back in the UK, like brandy in the bathtub downstairs, makes his own sake. He's got a tool shed. He's kind of like Wallace and Gromit, except he's like the alcoholic version of Wallace. It's like Wallace and Gromit and Wallace, they're always going on adventures and designing stuff. My uncle's got a tool shed where he's always producing homemade hooch. That's what he does, and his dog sits there with him sort of watching, like, hey, elderberries, this, put it together, squeeze them up, hey, drink one of those. Boom, dead. Like I gave him Monpur when I was over last time.
Nice.
He cut up some pear and put it in the shot glass and let it ferment a bit, and then he tried to eat it and drink it slowly, and he was just bright red, and his grandkids were filming him. He's just like, ah! By the end of it, he looked like he was possessed. Looked like something out of The Exorcist. He's just pulling faces, like, ah! Sitting there because he was trying to drink it slowly. I'm just, white people are dying here. My aunt did that, actually. She kept pouring shots for the old people. They kept walking in. My brother lives in South Africa. That's his son. Here, have some of these. What's that? That's what they drink in South Africa. Okay, double of that. All these old Welsh people bailing all over the place. They weren't expecting something that strong from a clear liquid, I think.
That must have been quite something to watch.
It was funny. Yeah, I drank as well, but, I can't do Monpur anymore. The worst one I ever had was Raven's father had a bottle of Monpur. It was like a chili Monpur, but he'd cut up his own jalapenos and put them in the damn thing.
Nice.
So it fermented. No, it wasn't nice. I had a single shot. I went bright red and I couldn't breathe and I was crying. I looked like I'd been attacked. Gareth's response to the Dark Elf sat there, looked at me do this, and then accidentally went whoops and threw his shot down the sink. Oops, slipped. Bastard. I was lying there dying for hours. That stuff was rancid. Good old times.
Yeah, we've had some adventures.
I like a beer shandy.
Now there's something I haven't had in a while.
I have them every summer, but I ran out of beer recently. I'm not going to the shop to buy more. Christmas is upon us. The mall will be of chaos and death.
And everything will be triple the regular price.
As well. But,
Tell
me what, I like Coca-Cola float, but I did a beer float.
Ooh.
With the Neapolitan ice cream, the white chocolate strawberry ice cream.
Yeah.
Couple dollops of that with a nice, good lager. No, not your cheapo Carling stuff, but a proper, like a Peroni or something imported.
One day I'll learn to tell the different beers apart.
It's straightforward. Lager, from German to mean store. Ale, from Britain, from ale house, meaning getting fucked up. Lager's cheap. Guinness is not a lager because it's expensive.
Okay.
Carling's Black Label's a lager because it's cheap.
Okay.
If it's cheap, it's a lager. If it's expensive, it's craft beer, which is normally ales or stouts. Although they do make a few lagers, the craft beer.
There are some nice craft beers out there.
I don't know. I'm very big on the craft thing. People are it's such a hipster thing to like craft beer and bacon. Yes, but at the same time,
Just because the hipsters do it doesn't make it bad. It makes them bad, but it doesn't make the thing they like bad.
No, I like craft beer.
Hitler loved animals. It doesn't make animals Nazis.
That's the Hitler argument that they have on the internet. As soon as you can't argue properly, you mention Hitler and you kill the argument.
There's like actual named law for that.
Hitler hated smoking, therefore smoking is good for you. No, that's just retarded.
Yeah.
But there are stupid people.
There are things that are related that don't actually have a correlation.
Yes. Such as how amazing bacon and beer is and how stupid hipsters are.
Yeah.
They're not related.
Bacon and beer have always been amazing. Just because hipsters suddenly realised this doesn't take away from the thing.
Yeah. But I do like craft beer. Which one did you have at the event we went to? What was it? Raspberry or some such?
Oh yeah.
Cranberry, some such.
I think it was cranberry.
It was red. I remember that. You were drinking red beer.
I think it was cranberry.
I had porter. In fact, I had all the porter they bought that day before they even opened the doors.
Yeah, not this year, but last year.
Yes.
At my company's year-end function. A friend of my boss, he bought a home brewing kit and enjoyed it so much he closed down the company he ran and opened a bar. So we had the Christmas party at the bar, and they had like a whole thing of craft beers, and it was cool because they like brought you the tray, and they started with their one was a strawberry beer, which is also like light pink and it was strawberry and ginger, so it was almost like a cocktail.
Okay.
And then they started with that, and then they went with like the really, really light beer, and then they just kept bringing like the next darkest one until you got to the Guinness looking one at the end of the line. And that was like their beer platter that they did.
That sounds quite nice, actually. Where is this place? We need to go and attack them.
Remember the Spur we had lunch at before we went to Geek Fest up by the Lion Park?
Way out there.
It's next door to that Spur.
Jesus, that bar that we went past. That pub. Okay.
I've recently...
We're going to need to get an Uber all the way there and an Uber all the way back. Otherwise we'll never get home.
This is true.
We'll all end up dead again.
If we went via my office, we could park at my office, and then that would be too bad. But I must actually show you. I found this cool little app the other day. I haven't tested it out yet. But check this. And he opens his phone for the people who cannot see shit.
Yes. It's very phony. It's got buttons and a screen. And now the screen is loading the app. It's called Bottles. It's an alcoholics app. It lets you track Raven.
So it picks up where you are from your GPS. And then you're like... Where is it now?
You find where the booze is.
Yeah. Okay, so I forgot my login now, but there you can be like, let's have craft beer. I don't know what this thing is, but
those are different craft beers.
Yeah. That looks interesting. And then you can go through, and then they just show up at your door with beer or wine or whatever you ordered.
Okay. So for the alcoholic who doesn't want to leave their home.
Yes. Because that's how you know when you're a true alcoholic, when you drink alone at home.
I do every night, actually. But
but you have one glass.
Not always. Sometimes I have about 5 or 6. It depends whether or not my stories are going right or the poems are making sense or... It's the creative arts.
You're fueling the inspiration.
I am. All the great writers were drunk.
Or other things.
Or on drugs. Yeah, all the great writers were on something. But that's quite a good idea, that craft beer app thing, or just an alcohol app.
Now
Find the booze you want and have them send it to you.
Now you've piqued my curiosity.
Oh God.
Don't worry, I'm just checking something.
Here we go. I said gay sex, not horse sex. This isn't Raven's ex.
I was just about to make a comment along those lines.
You look like the animal you work with.
Yeah.
That's why she looked like Raven. Also wiped her ass on the carpet, just like Raven.
This bad Raven.
Do you realise when he finally gets here to do a podcast show, he's going to spend about 2 hours just shitting us out for all the abuse we've given him over the past 2 years?
One, is he ever going to actually listen? 2, is he ever actually going to make it here? We've been trying for 2 years now, he still hasn't shown up.
Marriage makes him slow.
Yes, marriage is the bad for you.
Well, for some of us. Not for all of us. For me, yeah, I don't think marriage will ever happen. I'm too busy getting drunk. Who's got time to get women and drunk? You got to have priorities, man.
Okay, so from here to that place would be 300 rand.
$300. Not bad. We'll have to save up then.
It'll be an adventure trip.
Apparently so. Happy days. Right, like, share, subscribe. We'll go and do whatever the hell it is we're doing. For anyone who still listens to this crap or watches this channel at this point,
Give us money.
well, that too. But thank you very much for our subscribers, if any of you are even left. Thank you, Wookie, for listening to these YouTube podcasts after you've been in them. Shakespeare couldn't have put it better. Ciao.